You got a model done, and you love how it turned out. Now, you want to show it off in a competition. Let's say maybe that model was one of the new Rat Ogres from the one-page rules Ratman release on Patreon this month. Something big and flashy, sure to catch some attention for the one-page rules painting competition that's also run every month. Though the Ratman Rangers and God Titan could have been good choices too. And in my case, I've actually already gone and painted it up. But that means you need a good picture to show off. Though you're not all that interested in getting a diploma in photography. Well, that's what this video is for. I'm going to give you all the things you need to know just to get a good shot on your phone camera, without needing to learn every photography principle. The best way to get a clear, unblurry picture of something small like a model is to make sure your hands aren't on the device when making the snap, and for that, we need to stabilize. For phone cameras, there is a professional option where they have tripod mounts for phones you can buy online. There's also 3D printed solutions, which I think most viewers of my channel would have access to 3D printing, and there's lots of free STLs online. But if not, I mean, the only goal here is to make the phone stand still and mostly straight up. So just find something around your place that can do that. A glass or mug, clips, plastic containers. I found a solution with one of Howard's doggy toys even. Whatever it is, as long as it can move a bit on the tabletop, stand the phone vertical and hold it still. It'll work to keep things stable. Another part of stabilization though is we want to set up a 2-second timer. When you touch your camera or phone to take a picture, that adds movement. If it takes the picture right away, it's usually while that movement is still taking place. By setting up a quick timer, our fingers have moved away and the movement has stopped before any snappy snap takes place. I mean, it actually is the whole reason these 2-second timers exists, is for this purpose. So let's use it. Anything can be a background, sure. I like to take quick pictures of models at my desk with the paints in the background, just to show off a model that I'm working on without worrying about a bunch of setup. But when it comes to showcasing a model, we really do want to put some effort into choosing what goes behind them. Black or white are the kings really when you want a void behind what you're showing off. I cheat by using this Mosu black velvet cloth. This absorbs 99% of light, so it makes for a really dark black. But that's a bit too much effort for everyone. My go-to before I had the velvet was just a black foam core board. You know, the same ones used at science fairs. It cost like a couple of dollars, and while not a really dark black, it was at least matte, so it didn't have any glare. These also come in white, and are actually what I still use when I need a white background. Fabric can also be a good background if you have a bunch of black t-shirts kicking around, but as long as you're invading the drawers, all sorts of other colors can also work and be interesting or complementary. Gaming mats with interesting textures can also work if you can figure out a way to get them hanging. There is a secret to using these backgrounds though, and it's the same reason that you don't see a light box on this table, and that is distance. The further away from the background the model is, the less texture we'll see, the less light it gets, and the more it blurs. Putting the model right up against it results in shadows and in-focus textures. The further away it is in the background, the better. Which is why instead of trying to curve the background for the model to sit on and get a seamless transition, I hold the model up with a holder or stand into the background so that it fills the frame. The background can be any distance away. When the model is placed upon it instead, it has a limit to how far it can go. To prove my point, I want you to try and guess what black material I'm using here to get this shot. If you guessed just a dark hallway, then I think you get the idea of what enough distance and darkness can do. When it comes to lighting miniatures, there's two sources of light we have to worry about: ambient and directional. Ambient light just means the light in the room you're in. When you want the whole model illuminated and have a light background, it can be a good thing. But when you've got a dark background, you want as little light as possible on it. So closing the blinds and turning off all other lights is actually important for controlling the scene you intend to create. For lighting a model with only one light, like a desk lamp maybe, directing the light down at the model and a little bit in front will give us deep shadows, but won't illuminate the background, while lighting the top of the model on both sides. If you have two lights, we can instead do a cross-light pattern, pointing the lights at the model from opposite sides. It gets more of the shadows of the miniature while also avoiding illuminating the background directly. My favorite though when it comes to photographing miniatures is the ring light. I was able to get this one at a Dollarama for about $4 Canadian, though I'm sure there are much better made and brighter ones to be had. But what makes them good for miniatures is that they'll illuminate the front of the model at every angle, the top, bottom, and sides in relation to the lens as long as you're shooting through it. That way, the model is illuminated equally with no shadows, which provides a more true-to-life representation of how you painted it. Cameras have a lot of settings we can play with. First off, turn off the flash. After that, there's ISO, shutter speed, focus, picture format, and on phones, a whole whack of filters. Let's put all of those on auto though, and focus on only one thing, and that's exposure. With solid black or white backgrounds, cameras become kinda dumb, as they like to expose for the overall look of the picture. But we don't care about the background. We need to expose for the model itself. What that usually means is turning down the brightness or exposure quite a bit below what the camera wants to default as. So use your eye and look at the model's brightest parts, the whites, and drop the exposure or brightness until only the pure whites look white. I want to show you a few images here. This one looks a little too low, doesn't it? Mostly we're just looking at shadows and don't really get the right form of the model. This one looks exactly like what we'd see on the tabletop. And while it's important a model does look good this way, for that reason, we miss a lot of those shadows. This works well if we're taking pictures for a 2D overhead table space, but isn't really good for showing off things. So the final picture, we're just a little above eye to eye with the model. From here we can see the shadows, the eyes and face clearly, and even get a little view of the base, enough to see what he's standing on. This is the golden angle, and definitely the one you want to be showing off for contest pictures. This step right here is the most important one. No matter how your picture came out, after all of those other steps, I will judge you the most on this one. Crop your pictures. See this stuff? This nothing burger background? No one, I mean no one, cares about it. So get rid of it. Plus, if we're being honest here, pictures for contests and social media are going to be shared digitally by the owner or the contest holder. And the internet has a favorite format. Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, especially Reddit, or even Discord, a big ol' square is what shows up best. So a 1-to-1 ratio. Drag those sides in until the top and bottom are framed up, and then center it. We can also do some touch-ups, like adding contrast, maybe changing the exposure a bit if it wasn't quite right, or adding some sharpness just in case it was a little bit fuzzy or grainy. As long as it doesn't deviate too much from what you see in real life, then none of this is going to alter what your paint job looks like. Once you save the edited and square cropped photo, now you can get around to sharing it all over the internet. Like my Discord, which you can find a link to in the description. Or if it's a current month one-page rules model, enter it into their painting contest. Just be aware that they'll add your name at the bottom, so leave a little room for that. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this one, or just other fun things to do with painting miniatures. And until next time, enjoy your own painting journey.